EMR and EHR anywhere he goes. So he is not dependent on the nurse that mujhe lab report de do. He becomes self-sufficient, and at any point in time, if he feels in OPD that I have some time, he can review and prepare for his rounding. So that is one important stakeholder. Second is the management. And when I say management, it could be departmental heads, it could be senior management. What they need in terms of data, they should not be dependent on finance. If they want to see a check, is doctor ki kya statistics rahi hai, he asks or she asks someone and then they get the data. Because we have seen it happening. If you do it in Excel, आज मेरा मूड खराब है, आज मुझे वाइफ से डांट मिली है तो आज डेटा कुछ और मिलेगा, कल मेरा मूड अच्छा है तो डेटा कुछ और मिलेगा. It happens, not with the intent, but humans में ये होगा. So that is important stakeholders. If quality is there, quality should not go and ask lab कि आपके कितने outliers हैं, कितने आपने टैग में नहीं किया. Because all of this brings in some sort of vulnerability in the system, because then I can manipulate, not with the intent of manipulation, but there is a scope of manipulation. Let's reduce that, and that's the reason we said all business operation out. And third, which I think is one of the most important bit in today's world, is patient engagement. Three important stakeholders: doctors, management, and patient. Patient is important now. We are talking about this before when you had come. And this is primarily because his expectation has gone up. And his expectation has gone up because he's doing everything else outside. Except healthcare, he's doing everything. Book my show, he wants to eat food, Zomato. He wants to watch a movie, book my show. He wants to book a ticket for a flight, make my trip, hotel. And then the expectation, if I'm doing this, hospital, I'm paying. Whether I'm paying, my insurance is paying or my company is paying, I'm paying. I should get the same benefit. So patient experience, patient engagement, whatever names we give, that is what will actually make this hospital smart. Otherwise, it's just a name. So the few things that will actually take care in this is operational efficiency is given. And I'll talk about drawbacks of operational efficiency also, but because it's not an ideal world. Revenue management, it's given. Few things, if you automate, it gives you a better flexibility. I mean, let's talk about operational efficiency. Patients, you analyze the feedback form, patient says, doctor was okay, nursing was okay, waiting time was huge. Now, where to improve? Where is the bottleneck? I mean, in discharge process, whether the delay could be ki doctor itself said, he forgot and he did not enter the discharge intimation or the discharge request. So delay started from there. In OPDs, maybe the doctor came late, or he was busy in the emergency, or he was busy in the surgery. So communication to the patient is important. And secondly is, how do we know where is the delay? So that is what is help you derive operational efficiency that the system would be able to do. Second is efficient revenue management. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a business. I mean, we want to do a right thing, but at the same time, we want to earn revenue. So few things the system would be able to give. If let's say based on the patient type, I don't know, we do CGHS here? No, we don't. So based on patient type, whether it's an insurance patient or a corporate patient or a PSU patient, what if system intelligently tells the doctor and tells the pharmacy that this patient type you should be giving low cost drugs? What algorithm we'll talk later in doing the implementation. That is what efficient revenue management is. What if system intelligently says that this corporate general, your lag time for getting the money is 75 days. So you should start pushing them now. Rather than being reactive and in the lack of data, you are unable to, in fact, you are doing your routine work, you are not able to do all these work smartly. And that is the reason we have used whatever business function that you are doing, you should be able to optimize it and do it better. We are not in this thing of changing the way how healthcare works. It will still remain the same. Patient engagement, I think uh, many things, our own departmental process should be changed, because we should, all discussions that we do, we should keep a chair vacant and say, what if my actual patient was sitting here, would I still make the same business process or not? It has to be aligned to the patient. And I mean, we'll give an example. If a patient can take appointment online, if he can do payment online, why does he need to come and stand in the queue? He's already done his job. Can we give a kiosk where he can check in? Can he do a check-in on the mobile? Because on the mobile anyways he'll get his bills. 95% of the people in OPDs, they don't need the bill at all, because service is done. Even in credit case you don't need services, because my services are done. Can we look at that optimization? Plus, can we give this benefit to the patient wherein we have reduced your one touch point? You have done the payment, you do the check-in, directly walk onto the nursing counter. All of these we'll talk about that. And then the next is departmental best practices, what Dr. Chubra was saying. You will have to trust us. So we are now together in this. It's not a sales pitch anymore, where we try to influence you or try to show you how good we are and what all nice things we have done. Now it's actually, we are hitting the ground to do the actual work. So you have to trust us that we are not here to just do our stuff and go out. Again, that's the business that we want to ultimately achieve a milestone, get a payment, but the intent is not that. Intent is we genuinely do what we are putting it here. You have to be, change management is one of the most difficult ways for all the various departments. You'll have to be patient in listening to us and our team, because we have done it 100 hospitals. We'll come back and tell you these are the 3 ways that other hospitals are doing. Why not take a step backwards and say, okay, this is how they are doing it, might as well we might want to change our business processes. So this is where, unfortunately, like I said, I was a member of JSAA. JSAA and APS, they don't say what you need to do. I mean, there is no standard. There is an initial assessment you should be doing in this time. If the patient comes in ER, within 6 to 8 hours, he should either be discharged or he should move to ICU. Now, what you do in there, they will never tell you, and they can't tell you. And that's the reason there is no standardization in terms of forms. Initial assessment, what you do here, vis-a-vis initial assessment, what we go in the hospital which we accept, and they are totally different. But we still, being in this function, we understand what we do, what we should be doing. We'll help you with what other hospitals are doing, not with the data as it is, but saying that this is how they're doing, why don't you also look at that adoption. Please be flexible, please be vigilant, please understand where we are coming from. That is actually only for the betterment of this hospital. I mean, as I understand, this is in-house software as of now. So in-house software comes with a lot of flexibility. You can get it done what you want to get it done. And during that process, you at times forget that whether this is the most optimized way of doing or not. This is a time that actually we should take a step back and do that. And then of course, the data analytics and monitoring the KPIs, we want as department heads, we want your maximum time in going out. The clinical care will still remain clinical. Your maximum time actually going in looking at your KPIs and seeing whether the benchmark that we have set for ourselves, whether we are doing it right thing or not. Rather than focusing on the routine operation. Routine operation will always be there. We can't change that. And then of course, smooth transition from the existing system to part of the change management. And then there are a lot of integration that we have identified that will be integrated with, whether it's a payment gateway, whether it is lab equipment, whether it is limited any third-party application that we will list down, we will integrate this also as part of this. These are the various modules, the terminologies. I'll not get into the details of this, but because these are our terminologies, our module terminologies, you might be calling it something different. We will talk about this in detail, but a few things that I want to talk about is primarily these 3. Patient portal, whether it's a web or app for the patients. It will also have video consultation option, when in case you want to enable that video consultation seamlessly, can integrate with the app as well as Mobi history, which is primarily the doctor's app. Then we also have feedback. So feedback, either again, I'm not questioning or challenging the traditional way of doing it. Feedbacks are, if I'm a patient relation executive and taking the feedback, it is my KRA, number of feedback should be more. The content goes, that's not my KRA. So generally, you as a patient, you are walking out and please give the feedback. Then I don't have time, because by then patient is actually waited for too long, is exhausted. Sir, please sign kar do, baaki main likh dunga. It happens. That's a fact. This is what we'll give. So we'll optimize that. There is an option that he can give the feedback there. If he does not want to, he does not have time, he'll sit in the car and then he can give the feedback in his patient portal also. The idea is you get the right feedback to improve, not to just check a box कि मैंने तो feedback ले लिया. Perhaps one of the most important slides. So any successful go live, it's a combination of people, process, and technology. And trust me, we are only bringing 20% of it by bringing in this technology bit. Just 20%. 60% of that will be people. A Mercedes car, you give it to a bad driver, in 2 days you know what has happened to it. So driver is perhaps the most important bit, and actually it will come from top, and that's the reason that we had this conversation, who all should be part of this, and Dr. Shukla suggested that we should get all the HOD. Primarily because that thing has to come from you. That this thing might make my life difficult for the next 3 months or 6 months or 8 months, because change will be difficult, people will have to be trained, nursing staff जिसको मैं train दूंगा 2 महीने बाद हो सकता है चलाई जाए, the HOD is also changing, all this will happen. But at the same time, we as a team know that yes, this is actually being done, because after 9 months, after 12 months, this is perhaps the best thing to happen. So the ownership on this would be change management. We can tell you the benefits of using. We can tell you नहीं इससे आपका चीज better हो जाएगा, but you will have to own that as department heads and say हाँ ये चीज मेरे लिए better है, and I will go through that change management. Temporarily it will be difficult for me, but I'll go ahead and do that. Second is ensure user adoption, and a typical so there are two hospitals in our terminology. We use the word greenfield and brownfield. Greenfield is new hospital coming up. It has its own challenges for us, because a hospital does not want to onboard all the people at the same time, because they want to reduce the cost, and rightly so. On a brownfield, you have a running hospital where operations takes priority than this project. And this thing, the reason I am saying this, ये आपके दिमाग में रोज आएगा, यार मीटिंग के लिए बुला लिया, अभी तो ये important है मेरे लिए. But if you think long term, this is important. At times, and we go to the next slide where we request that we need departmental champions, we need SPOCs. उसमें the HODs generally say कि अच्छा मैं तो अच्छा इनको एक बंदा चाहिए ना, तो most efficient person इसको दे दो, क्योंकि ये तो वैसे भी मेरा काम नहीं हो रहा है, ये दे दो. It actually doesn't solve our purpose. We need your best person to be part of that team, because the more time that he devotes, the next 5 years are going to be better for you. And that is the reason we say that change management, user adoption, and adherence to the process is very important. And that is the help that we need from you as a department owners. Process wise, let's try to optimize all the processes. Let's look at the best practices and also quality standards. Quality also, quality is also slightly subjective. What are the business processes that you adopt? Uski quality kya hai? And so, when I say this, as departmental owners, don't look at ये मेरे लिए आसान होगा. This I can measure, so I'll go ahead and do that. Please don't do that. Take a step back and say, if organization is important, whether I should be managing this matrix or not, and that is where the process would be important. And of course, the technology bit इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, वाईफाई है कि नहीं, एक सिस्टम डाउन हो गया तो दूसरा है या नहीं है. So this is what we call as business continuity and high availability and all. So typically the implementation that we have broken into 3 phases. The first phase, which is primarily 12 weeks, where we do the process study and mapping. So the team would be here and we'll publish the project plan of individual processes, where we first try to understand what you're doing. So you should not feel कि हम कुछ थोप रहे हैं आपके ऊपर. We'll try to understand what you're doing and then we'll draw a comparative and say आप ये कर रहे हो, actually ये करने से आपका better होगा. So that you can also look at some logic of why that is being suggested. This would be done as part of functional. We call that as, terminologies can change, but we call that as a functional workshop, where we tell you, for example, we'll tell you that अभी आप you're not capturing some information. For example, what is the source of the patient? Or in emergency, if a patient has come, how is it come? Why has it come from there? And during this processes, we'll come back and tell you that you want to capture this. उसके लिए आपको ये digital master data देना पड़ेगा. And master data also, there are 3 types of master data. One is mandatory. इसके बगैर तो सिस्टम नहीं चलेगा. Second is semi-mandatory, means it's not mandatory, it will not stop your business process, but each time the patient comes in, it will ask. Third is non-mandatory. You still want to capture it, but it's a non-mandatory thing. And once we do the functional workshop, we'll explain all the master data elements. सबसे ज़्यादा जो challenge हमें आता है during implementation is, यार ये क्यों? ये हम तो पहले 5 चीजें कैप्चर करते थे, तो 27 चीजें मांग रहे हैं, because next आपको चाहिए होगा, and then you can classify कि अच्छा मेरे लिए ये मैंडेटरी कर दो, ये नॉन मैंडेटरी कर दो, ये कर दो. जैसे आपके पास वो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है that you decide, we want you to be aware कि हमारे पास भी वो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है. There are few things that we'll put our foot down. हमसे ये तो हम चेंज करने ही नहीं देंगे आपको, ये तो आपको एडिशनल डेटा देना ही पड़ेगा. Because we also understand कि इससे आपका काम आसान होगा. आज आप नहीं कर पा रहे, but you will need this tomorrow. We might come back, अच्छा ठीक है आप इसमें 3 चीजें डिफॉल्ट दे दो, don't use, but 3 चीजें डिफॉल्ट दे दो. Because we want, otherwise we get into that cycle of convincing you are getting, but we still want you to, and we will also have that flexibility. At times we will come back and say जो आप बोल रहे हो गलत है, let's go to the executive, the committee to decide the bottleneck. Because I use this terminology in Hindi that मतभेद होना चाहिए, मतभेद नहीं. So there can be a difference of opinion and there should be a difference of opinion, but with the intent कि आपको ये करने के लिए we have not taken it to the executive steering team saying that the front office manager is saying that ये ऐसा नहीं करेगा. No, because we also genuinely feel कि ये business process optimized होना चाहिए, and what we are saying does make more sense. Not to score any brownie points at all. हमारे लिए तो आसान है कि ऐसा बोल रहे हो ऐसा करके निकल जाए. So I want to assure you that these people will become at times difficult also with you. By saying कि नहीं ये तो हम change करेंगे नहीं, क्यों कर रहे हैं ये ऐसे, let's escalate. So if you have got right to escalate, which you have, if you are not happy with me or Pradeep or Sunil or anyone in the team, you can कि यार ये क्या बोलता है हमें समझ नहीं आता. You will replace the person. Same right goes with us also. We also should, otherwise we are not working as a team. Also on the back side, again one of the most important thing, data cleaning. Garbage in is garbage out. This will make your life difficult for next 2 months. I can give it in writing. और during operations ये हो जाता है. Blood sugar fasting 3 नाम से आ जाता है. Blood sugar fasting glucose, एक ही डॉक्टर 3 नाम से आ जाएंगे. But this is the time that we change it. आप एक बार जब सोच लोगे कि हाँ मैंने डेटा क्लीन कर दिया, उसके बाद में हमारी टीम आपको बोल देगी नहीं ये देखो ये है, because we have got tools that we run and say नहीं अभी भी duplicate है, and will be difficult in that. Difficult only for the reason कि this is user की training और वो सब आसान हो जाता है उसके बाद. इसका impact भी है क्योंकि पहले हम 3 करते थे, पहले आसान करते थे, लेकिन this is one of the most. So we'll start So once we do the functional workshop where we discuss the process, team will also say कि ये process करने के लिए these are the master data that we need, these are the templates that we need, this is the mandatory thing, this is non-mandatory, आप करके ये data हमें दीजिए, and then you'll have some time, and the actually days and weeks duration that I have entered is ऐसा नहीं है कि sequential that will only start data cleaning after completing 12. जैसे जैसे होगा वैसे वैसे team will start doing it, they'll start giving you feedback, but this is कि इतने तक तो ये complete हो ही जाना चाहिए. Within 12 weeks we have to complete all this, and then we start working only on the final acceptance, on the last training on your actual data, so all of that. And then of course 2 weeks of post-go-live support. I mean, I'll more or less have covered all this, but one of the most important thing and that is that for any project, so there are 3 teams that we have recommended. With our understanding, we have put few names and we'll talk about this. So one is the project team, which is primarily from our side to Sunil. We request some nomination from your side. Project team to daily operation pay ko karenge. Then we'll have an executive steering committee where we'll discuss if there are any challenges, if there's a delay in servers or there's a delay because any assessment out, someone is not able to give time, how to circumvent those. So primarily it will go there. And third is we would want to create a multidisciplinary committee of what we call as clinical advisory group or physician advisory group, or whatever name that. Primarily, and it will have nurses as well as it will have pharmacy, it will have departmenting as well as the clinicians. And this is my personal thing that I genuinely look, the way I look at it is मैंने nurse का काम कम किया है, and I'll be very honest and upfront here. Nursing, she does lot of things which I think she should not be doing. वो pharmacy का भी काम करती हैं, वो doctors का भी काम करती है, print out lab report print out भी देती है, she'll place a consumable indent and all. If and there are large numbers, if I am able to reduce 1 hour for one nurse in one day, I think this project has met that objective. And that is the reason we want to create a committee wherein doctors say here, I place the order, nurses don't look at the notes, they don't do it. Nurses also might have some challenges. Sir, आप तो कर देते हो, pharmacy वाला मना कर देता है. I'm just giving an example. And that is the reason that we want to have that committee wherein it also helps in communication. That if they are optimizing a business process, everyone related to it is aware कि हम ऐसा करने वाले हैं. So that doesn't come as a surprise. So 3 committees that will be created, and there is a communication plan also to it in terms of how we'll do it. Now some commitments that we need from you and which is important from a success factor is the commitment from the senior management. Generally what we have seen is pre-implementation we get time, post-implementation we don't get time, and it's in fact more important that now that you have chosen us, you give us that time wherein we come back and tell you generally not against someone but against the project. If few things are not happening, we want to have that time, and that's the reason we need that it's not that we're trying to push something down the throat, but at times, I mean, it's a carrot and stick. At times stick is also important. At times it is important कि ये मुझे करना ही है, choice नहीं. I mean, the analogy that I actually use in all, I mean, if we have 10 questions in one exam for 3 hours, we'll do 3 to 4 questions in 2 hours, and then in last hour we'll do 6 questions. And generally, I mean, talking to Dr. Nagpal, I used to get more marks in the last 1 hour as compared to the question that. So at times it's important when we know that no, we have to complete this in time and someone is watching, it's important. So one of the most critical success factors is the time. We'll send you WSRs and that will also come in the format, but प्लीज डोंट इग्नोर इट कि अच्छा कोई बात नहीं है, तो रोज हर हफ्ते भेज देते हैं यार, ये तो भेजेंगे हर हफ्ते, और उसमें आपको बेस्ड ऑन द टाइम देयर विल बी अ रेड लाइट, रेड एम्बर ग्रीन, जैसे ट्रैफिक लाइट काम करता है, रेड वाली चीजें देख लीजिए इफ यू आर बिजी, देन यू नो कि व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम, अदरवाइज क्या मैंने तो भेज दिया, माय चेक बॉक्स इज टिक, टुमारो यू क्वेश्चन में मैंने तो भेज दिया था, आपने देखा नहीं, ओ सो सैड, but has it served the purpose? It does not. So please, senior management, top management, commitment of the time is important. Stakeholder participation and cooperation. I said you have to allocate your best person for this project. Otherwise, it's not a checkbox. मैंने तो दे दिया, एक बंदा मांगा था दे दिया, छोड़ो ना जो करे, it will not solve the purpose. Availability of prerequisites. Prerequisites primarily only we need a small place where our team once starts they're working on, and your people, identified people on time, and we'll send you that list also. We've already spoken about this. Is जैसा आप अभी कर रहे हैं, अगर वैसा ही कराना है तो इस सॉफ्टवेयर में चेंज करना है, फिर तो वही कंटिन्यू करते हैं. So please, customization should be limited only. Choice नहीं है. Otherwise, let's try to adopt something which is working at 100 odd places, and whatever I am saying, there are places where almost everything is actually happening on the system, and it is a small hospital, 100 bedded or 250 or even 700 bedded or even 1500 bedded hospital where all these patients or doctors are using the system, all the nurses are using the system and all. Timely approval as per the project milestone, the availability of support of existing system and existing vendors. This is primarily from IT. जो आपसे बात कर रहे थे कि जब हम थर्ड पार्टी वेंडर से ही करते हैं, we'll have to ensure कि वो हमारे अभी तो we all are one team, we are working on this. They are not even aware कि हम 3 महीने में हमें ये सब करना है. So it is important even for Rajesh to ensure कि once we give you the project plan, उनको पहले से align करके रखते हैं, so that ये ना हो कि अच्छा उन्होंने तो दिया नहीं, अच्छा अब तो डिले हो रहा है, अरे मैनुअल मांगा था लैब इक्विपमेंट का वो तो मिला ही नहीं. For us it's कि हमने तो मेल भेज दी थी, मिला नहीं, but will not solve the purpose. IT infrastructure availability will be work along with this, and then effectively change management. This is perhaps one of the most important things. No change is easy. Okay. From our team, I mean, Pradeep heads the implementation, and Naresh is not here. He is the head of delivery. I am Sujit. We have got Sunil here. He heads the project team, and then the implementation team. As talking about a nurse who's been in health IT, I mean it's Dipti. And then this Bablu Pandit, he is again from a technology background with this. We'll give you a project plan with our names to it, and we'll request your name. Based on our understanding, we'll also have actually created a governance model. We'll send this Excel, this presentation, you can change this, but this should be ingrained in everyone's mind कि ऐसा ही है, अब ऐसे ही चल रहा है. Ma'am is there as a project sponsor. We have created an executive committee, primarily the same team which was their core committee, we have kept there, and then as and when we need the process owners, we can call them. Meeting of this committee is also important at certain frequency, and that frequency also we have defined. We as together can decide कि अच्छा नहीं इसको ऐसे कर लेंगे. Does not necessarily have to be face-to-face meeting. We can do a 30 minutes on Zoom saying कि everything is right, or these are a few challenges that we need. And then the project team is what we have put here, which will have more of the champions and all on this. We'll send this across. If you want to make any changes, we can do that. So, one is that we do a training for all and sundry. Everyone needs to be trained, but you will have to identify one departmental champion or single point of contact who knows slightly more. Why you should know more is अभी हम ऐसे कर रहे हैं, but what training will give that person is what all you can do with the system. कल को if he or she is part of a meeting and then something comes out कि अच्छा इसको ऐसे कर सकते हैं, he should be aware कि अच्छा ये configuration में change करूँ तो ये चीजें I don't have to go back to the vendor. So but the end user training we tell them ये ऐसे है, आपको ऐसे करना है. So the identification of champion users is important, and wherein we'll actually train them and we will finalize with them the business process that would be adopted here. And technical training is planned for the IT team.
Department champion during the project and the champion user training, is there any relation that person should be also be there? Because this person will come under at point of training. The champion.
No, it's the same person.
Same
person. Because we don't want to discuss with someone else.
Yeah, because from day one if that person is.
Yes. And we have our imagination. We have also put a list in this. This and one person, and this हमने अपने मॉड्यूल के हिसाब से किया है. You can say that my one person will take care of, let's say, finance and MIS. There's only one person. So, and you can club this and say मेरा एक बंदा ये तीनों चीज करेगा, which is fair. But at least these are the things that he has to take care. You should be aware. This also brings accountability. And we also know कि इस बंदे को हमें कितना बताना है. Again, this also list will share this with you. आप लोग देखिए इसके against नाम लिख दीजिएगा. You have 2-3 days, 4 days, 5 days. So
we said no, actually kick-off will be little later.
Correct. And from that day, once we have the names, then we start the actual functional workshops and all. Parallelly, we'll start doing the technical assessment so that we know कि infrastructure perspective में और क्या-क्या additional चीजें चाहिए होंगी. From a project communication thing, what we are saying is this is the kickoff that we are doing. Then there will be weekly project management status report which will be sent by Sunil to everyone who's part of that project management team with executive committee in the CC. It's important that we open that. So this is actually the format. अगर आपके पास टाइम नहीं है, by recommendation is कि बस ये देख लीजिए. If everything is green, fine. Amber, और इसमें हम कुछ भी छिपाने की कोशिश नहीं करेंगे. हम we'll say as it is. If it's a delay from our side, then which can happen, we'll put that and say delay from our side. But it's important for all the departmental heads, departmental champions, and the steering committee to actually look at this. This is actually culmination of all these. And then we'll have a weekly code. Again, this will be done, and then the executive committee meeting, which we say initially we'll do it every week once. Closer to go live, if we need to increase the frequency, we'll do that. These are the prerequisites. Availability of this, whoever is the departmental decision maker, training room, project office, a small place where someone can start working on it, and remote connectivity अगर कुछ ये करना है. Primary इसके कुछ नहीं है. Physician adoption, we talk about if we can have Nagpal is anyways here. If you want to have a couple of more people, this will actually help. And this is primarily from an implementation stage where we use this. As a next step, so we'll do we'll send this presentation where you need to put the names, and in case you want to change the org structure for this project, we'll send the detailed project plan starting what date should we consider, Monday?
I think we have to discuss it.
Okay. So then you come back.
What we will discuss, and we will have one telephonic conversation about feedback, and that we will decide when, because our
makes sense. Then what we'll also do is, depending on this, we will share this document. लगता है कि documentation ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं. Company है, IT company is known for doing documentation. We are more of operation, but at times documenting the risks and the few assumptions that we are taking, it's important. So, and we'll share that format also with you.
So this is what we are talking about. HIS, operational risk, legal risk, what kind of risk all across? What
Project risk.
failure?
No, only project risk. Okay, what risk we think will not be able to do this time? We'll share a master data collection list. We'll share with you so that internally you can circulate it, so that we, like Pradeep was saying, there are 200 different master data that we require from you. And we'll explain all of that, but that also list would be shared. Template would be shared after the discussion with the respective owner, and then travel time finally when we
So list of the master sheet you will send today itself, because then we will have
Ma'am, all of this you will get today. All of this you will get it today.
Oh,
Sunil is the project manager. We'll share his phone number, mail ID, and everything.
we really want this question and answer session. Whatever you have doubt in mind, please feel free, because you are the lead and the department will follow you. We were discussing, I think so, Dr. Neha, you had a question, Dr. Lindu, you had. Anybody who left, like still have a doubt, please feel free. Quality team, anything specific you are having in mind. Like NABH, I know Rakhi, you had asked me, NABH ki sari reporting ho jayegi. The answer was yes. That NABH, these were like a basic things. But specific, you have a lots of work now, because lots of master data, you have been doing, but you will do more nursing. Any doubt that you have in your mind, any specific this thing which you say that I don't know whether it will be there, it is very critical for you? Dr. Charge.
Like in operation theater, everything will visualize, so we're expecting OT note to visualize only system पे डालें. So उसके भी templates you have already made up.
Absolutely, sir. Pre-operative templates as well as post-operative as well as operative templates.
So they are ready on your side. Then you can change it to definitely.
Department dashboard, Praveen, Shamaji, Dr. Rita, you have anything specific in OT? Lots of, we know that. Even I have one simple question in OT. The OT booking option is available at what
100%.
places?
100%. One of the important KPIs is that you will get as a derivative of this particular OT utilization. Otherwise, you manually like
OT access I'm talking. Who all can do?
Yes, OT scheduling. OT scheduling.
And so in scheduling, one would be basically people who can make changes, and for others it will just give, right?
Yeah.
Those rights will be different.
Okay.
My concern is there are a lot of reports to be made. There's going to be a lot of, you'll have to do a lot of hand holding. Because here we're virtually trying to see कि ऐसे template होगी, ये हमारा data उधर fit in करेगा कि नहीं करेगा. So I foresee that we require a lot of hand holding.
Sure,
Would you be providing somebody like, hands on? It's not that हमने यहाँ पर discuss कर लिया, but जो यहाँ की discussion मैं OT में अपना data देख के करने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ. You get what I'm trying to say? Would you be able to do it like hands on? If I sit over there and I say कि ये मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा, इसको मैं कैसे?
Absolutely, ma'am. So, I mean, there are two bits to it. One is pre-implementation, then is post-implementation. Pre-implementation team would be here doing the training and all, so primarily 2 to 3 people depending on how many workshop, how many training. During implementation, you will see more number of people because at the same time we are going live at all the departments. So there will be more people from our side, and that's the reason we need more departmental champions also from wherein we'll train you then and there also, which would we call as on-job training. Saying अच्छा ये ऐसे नहीं क्योंकि classroom में training and actual when the patient is totally different. So we'll have people on ground also trying to do the hand holding at that point in time.
Also, we're taking care of CSST. I didn't see the CSST, so it's
CSST
accommodated
is
as
all part of this.
All right.
This timing of this departmental session interaction, what is your typical timing which you would say morning 9 to how many hours?
So depending on the slot we had shared, so 2 to 4 hours depending on the
timing you start timing because OPD
9 o'clock to 6.
9 to 6.
Any time that
Because then we have to arrange, like let's say non-OPD days or something, we will have that combination.
Yes.
Non-OPD days or non-OT, let's say Dr. Rita has to be there, Sheila OPD.
So we will be flexible in terms of how we schedule those.
Okay, so, yeah, combination, like which department, that can be switched.
One query, discharge summaries में कैसे डॉक्टर incorporate होगा?
Discharge summary भी system पे आएगा, so they can make it in, they can be templates that we can create specific to specialty. They can do it on their systems. In fact, we have also incorporated the same thing on the mobile also. मोबाइल में अगर वो देख लेते हैं सब कुछ, whatever during the patient stay, सारी चीजें incorporate हो गई हैं. We pulled on to the discharge summary, he can verify onto the mobile itself. One of the things that we have seen is maximum delay जो discharge में होता है, वो इसलिए होता है क्योंकि discharge summary डॉक्टर ने साइन नहीं की तो patient वेट कर रहे हैं. उसी को optimize
Lab investigation से है कि lab investigations कैसे incorporate होंगे?
discharge summary में
And advice on discharge में medication कैसे?
both options are there on the system. The moment doctor says patient is fit to be discharged, he has an option to enter orders which will go as a discharge medication onto the discharge summary. Lab reports,
Scroll down होगा या typing होगा?
typing नहीं होगी. Discharge summary का एक अलग tab है. You say put this in the discharge summary. That is the option that he has. Lab report also, if it is a long staying patient, he would not want to put all the lab reports into discharge summary. He can choose the first day where I want to show this and the last day in the discharge summary. Typing कम से कम करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं.
Dr. Shani, you have some.
Sir, there was no mention of hospital infection control related surveillance and identification of HAIs and various processes.
So you saw something called as an incident management there. So that all would be
That
covered
will
in the
take care of
incident
HIs.
management.
So you already have templates in place for hospital infection control management as such, the whole program.
Ma'am, templates, unfortunately, there is no standardized templates
Okay.
across hospitals. We have few templates that will show कि ये 40 ऐसा है.
Right.
It all depends. In case you want to make few changes, you can go ahead and make it.
Yes, because hospital infection control is all based on surveillance and it is hospital wide. So I think software will definitely be helpful if it is to serve the purpose.
This one.
Audit भी, हाँ.
Is the audit would be helpful in HIC or no? Because you said code red you कर सकते हैं, you can, but similarly the nurses on the ground we will audit for hand washing or something like that. So
Audits, yes.
audit system.
Audits, yes. But infection control and all that is primarily
Yes.
insurance.
But audit HIC का भी
Yes.
है. Audit is a separate app.
When आपके आज की डेट में forms होंगे,
Right,
which
right.
you can create those forms in the system,
And
upload
so
on
we
the
can
mobile.
have the app-based system for surveillance and audit.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. All right.
सर जैसे सारे हॉस्पिटल में CPR जब कंप्यूटर सिस्टम होता है जब मेडिकेशन एडवाइस द लैब इन्वेस्टिगेशन और रेडियोलॉजी इन्वेस्टिगेशन द डॉक्टर्स आर जस्ट एंटरिंग देयर प्रोग्रेस रिकॉर्ड इज दैट गेटिंग रिफ्लेक्टेड इन द रेडियोलॉजी एंड द लैब
Of course.
pharmacy?
Of course. In IPD, yes. In OPD, it will go to billing.
Okay.
Once paid, then it will go to.
Same is happening with the discharge also. When the doctor is putting the discharge advice, if the patient is a TPA patient, obviously they have to get the discharge medicine. If the pharmacy get the implementation.
Yes, ma'am. And it shows in a different color also to pharmacy. So the moment doctor says discharge this patient, alert will be sent to nursing, to blood bank, to OT for clearances, to admission desk so that they finalize the billing, and 3-4 nursing, pharmacy so that they start. So automatically alert should be sent to them. Now they can, and each time these people have given the clearance, they'll just put a tag that this patient cleared, and that is where system keeps a track of who took how much time.
Okay. Same way, what about the blood request?
Blood requisition, blood bank is part of this thing.
Part of this.
Doctor,
Diagnosis
sorry.
diagnosis जो है वो ICD-14 से
ICD-10.
ICD-10
In fact,
लिंक है मतलब
by default है वो.
By default.
So we tell them कि आप डायग्नोसिस डालिए, सिस्टम कोड खुद कर देगा. It's not the other way around कि MRD को कोड फिर से दोबारा करना पड़ेगा. Yes, ma'am.
Two general questions actually. So being in healthcare, since you have a lot of experience, one of the areas where I think we struggle as clinicians is in our whole team, there can be many attritions and then we have new joinees. So when it comes to training them about all of this system, do you have any automated videos which we can, subsequently share? Because would it then have to be a one-on-one training on the entire system all over again? How would you have handled it otherwise? Second question to the management is for departments who are also dealing with visiting consultants, like my department deals with pediatric super specialists. Would we be also having them on board? Because if the patient is the central point, are we eventually expecting them to be following these?
Just will be yes, that anyone who is coming to the organization.
Because we can't have paper part of that, so they will be party to that.
And the idea is to have things so self-explanatory that they don't have to go back and forth.
Okay.
And I'm assuming there will be some trainers on board right at the beginning.
Yes.
Let's say team changes, then we have new nurses.
So as part of onboarding, and that's what we recommend, that as part of onboarding, the training is compulsory. So whether it can be on-job training by some departmental champions, if departmental champion is going, then the clearance needs to be done that someone else takes that role.
But do we use technology in that, or we use one-to-one trainings?
No,
manual training?
No, ma'am. In the system we can have built-in videos to train them also. So that, but generally with clinicians, I can tell you that's not how it works. It's primarily you ask them to come for a training, no one comes. And the first day when there is a patient outside, ab aa jao. And in 5 minutes they learn also. 5 can be 7 or 3, but that's how for clinician it works. I mean, it's more to do with human psychology. So, visiting consultants, ma'am, you have answered this. So there are hospitals. There is no choice.
My personal experience, just I'm sharing my one of the previous organization, the MD and the CEO, we did the first OPD consultation and then the multiple max Dr. Pavez Ahmed. It was not there.
Yeah.
He did the first one and it was like, I know that it's doctors ke liye OPD mein karna, but we have almost in-house all the doctors using it, so we don't see that challenge because we are already seeing it. We don't see it. Only BCs are
on doctors. So that's the larger chunk is covered, and we're not looking at the passage.
So for NPH we conduct departmental audits every 6 months. So that includes a lot of documentation work. So that can also be done through analysis and sharing with the department.
As of now, you also do it in a form.
Yeah.
Remove that form. Imagine that you create that form into the system. You take the laptop, you take the tablet, go and do the. One thing that I'll say here, and it's important, that because now paper-based forms, we are used to this, number one, and review is easy. यहाँ देखा साथ में change कर लिया, अच्छा पिछले इस पे क्या है? It becomes easy. With technology, that real estate becomes slightly small. I mean the flow, IC flow sheet. वो A3 में दोनों साइड पे उसको पलट के देख लिया, एक को हाफ पलट करके ये देख लिया. Unfortunately, लैपटॉप को पलट के नहीं देख सकते. That change management को अपने दिमाग में लाना होगा. It cannot be exactly the way that you're doing, but system has got information. And the benefit, it might take 1 second extra for doing this, but the benefit is then I can plot a graphic and system would be able to do it automatically for me.
Like suppose lots of times we plan discharge coming morning, like the patient 24-hour discharge, because the other day we give instruction today evening that we are discharging at 8 o'clock, and suppose we want OT and coming at 9 o'clock, so then can I give instruction for today only for that discharge at 8 o'clock?
So there are two bits to it. One is discharge planning, and other is discharge initiation. You can plan a discharge, and that will not trigger anything except to relevant people that कल discharge होगा. Next day morning, even if you are OT or you have a mobile app, उसमें आप कर दीजिए क्या? Now I think this patient can be discharged.
तब तो साथ में discharge कर दो इसको. I'm coming at 9 o'clock. I'm coming at 10 o'clock.
So he is saying tomorrow I don't need to come and I will, today I have written tomorrow discharge 7.
But
with condition ABC.
That initiate.
Not possible.
So unless he initiates tomorrow at 7.
Yes. But that you can initiate from your mobile anywhere.
Anywhere. Now it is not that limited.
So you can review all the reports कि अच्छा कल अगर इसका hemoglobin normal आ गया तो मैं discharge कर दूँगा. You review and then say discharge the patient. Automatically it will throw an alert to everyone.
I will request you now for 5 minutes. The prerequisite meeting is now. We have a taking off.
Thanks, Suji, and bringing on board Pradeep and Vivek was Sunil. I'm back with him, right? So Sunil. champions, we already have more or less a list of people that we think fits the role. But what kind of time frames are required from these champions? So there is some amount of clarity. We still have a lot of questions, and I assume everybody in the room has the same. Personally, my own department is the one that turns out a lot of data. We're personally very excited to have this on board. That's something very personal. As far as the senior management commitment is concerned, I think both me and Mr. Bhatia, we're fully committed to this, not why just before. We are committed to it while this is going on and once this stops, because we just don't want to have a half-baked. We've done that with seniors before. We've already burned our hands once. We don't want to do that. So you will have that commitment throughout, all right? Besides that, our team is already in place. They're meeting frequently. We're meeting frequently, you guys as well. We've had plenty of meetings. I think I feel I'm looking forward to the chaos, and it will be chaotic, I assume. It will be chaotic in terms of logistics because as clinicians, everybody is focused on taking care of the patients, and this will take a second seat when it comes to patient care. But we are committed. I think most of our clinicians are also churning out a lot of data. Most of them want to see transparency, which the system is going to bring in. So I think everybody is looking forward to it. We are a bit nervous, but we are looking forward to it. And we understand we sink and swim together, whether it is our team or you, and we are looking forward to it. And thank you so much.
So I think so we will have, what's the next plan? As we discussed that we will see this PPTs and reporting and the team will report, and one telephonic discussion will be there where we will clarify what it is, and then the day one starts. We will have that kind of clarity, and it is not like in a month of discussion. Days time we will get back to you. I think so that's it for today. Thanks for coming.